I think a few of you are enjoying celebrating Kentucky tonight, and we're delighted that you're here. I'm Dave Atkinson with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and to start our program tonight, before we have our nice meal, I'm very pleased to introduce a gentleman who's with the University of Kentucky Opera. He is from Kentucky. He went all the way to New York, was quite successful at the Metropolitan Opera there. He's now back in Lexington teaching opera at UK. And thanks to Dr. Pierce Lyons and his wife Deirdre at Alltech for bringing Gregory to our event tonight, I want to introduce Gregory Teray for the singing of My Old Kentucky Home. And he suggests that we join with him. Gregory? Thank you.
The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the people are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, and the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry and happy and bright. By and by hard times come a-knocking at the door, then my old Kentucky home, good night. Weep no more, my lady, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, far away.
You can all now go home and tell your friends that you sang with an opera star from the New York Met. I hope you've all been served now and that you're getting your dessert. So we'd like to go ahead with our program. It's great to have all of you. This is a wonderful evening, and I think everyone's having a great time. So nice to have people from all across the state of Kentucky to be here tonight to celebrate with Senator McConnell and his accomplishment. On behalf of the Kentucky Chamber, I want to welcome all of you who have come. The Chamber is the state's largest business organization and is led by a board of directors made up of business leaders from across the state. In just a few minutes, we'll introduce our chairman, Will James of Toyota, who will have a part on the program, and we'll introduce our guest of honor later this evening. The board of directors of the Chamber, if I could have your attention. Thank you. The board of directors of the Kentucky Chamber is listed in your program tonight. You can see who the folks are from around the state, about 75 business leaders from across the state. We wanted to host this event tonight to celebrate the fact that Senator McConnell has been selected by his peers to lead the United States Senate. It's an honor for him, but it's also a distinct honor for Kentucky. As senator, he has used his influence in Washington to represent Kentuckians aggressively. For example, on the tobacco buyout program, protecting coal, helping research programs at UK, creating the McConnell Center at the University of Louisville, I noticed our friends from Western Kentucky University are here tonight. He has spread the WKU folks back there. He has used his influence to help Kentucky in a variety of ways. He's leveraged federal support for countless community projects, such as the riverfront in my hometown of Owensboro. We appreciate all of you, friends from both parties, who are here tonight to mark this historic occasion as his selection as leader. If I could just introduce a few VIPs who are here in the audience, and I'll hold off on introducing some of the folks who are on the program tonight. But first, and I haven't seen him, but Congressman Ed Whitfield, I believe, is here tonight. He represents the 1st District in Western and Southern Kentucky. He's from Hopkinsville. Did Congressman Whitfield make it? Oh, he's on his way. Okay, all right, very good. Congressman Brett Guthrie of Bowling Green represents the 2nd District. Here, here. He's the fellow back there waving the red towel for the WKU folks. He represents Owensboro, Bowling Green, Hardin County, and all that area. And then we have Thomas Massey from the 4th District, which you follow the river, right, from Ashland up to northern Kentucky. And a tremendous fellow for us to work with. And then my congressman, Andy Barr of Lexington, he represents the Bluegrass District. Andy, I think on the applause meter you kind of you did very well there. And then we also have a fella who used to be a mayor, and then he used to be a lieutenant governor, and he's now deputy assistant to the president and director of intergovernmental affairs, the Honorable Jerry Abramson. Jerry, glad to have you. You know, he represents cities, counties, and Indian tribes, I believe, right? What? And states. I told him Bonnie and I were here on behalf of the Navajo Nation, and we had a few things that we wanted to talk to him about that of interest to the White House. Glad to have you, Jerry. And joining Dr. and Mrs. Lyons from Alltech tonight is the ambassador to the United States from Ireland, Ambassador Ann Anderson. Welcome, Madam Ambassador. She was wondering why there wasn't Irish whiskey at the bar tonight. We just had bourbon there tonight. And then also tonight we have a distinguished guest, the Spanish ambassador to the U.S., who is a guest of North American Stainless and Mary Jean Riley and her folks, Ramon Gil Caceres. Ambassador? And now to end the introductions of the VIPs, I would like to introduce one other great Kentuckian, a man that is known to frequent the Willard Hotel and to often treat his guests to some Kentucky bourbon. Would you give a warm welcome to the very honorable Henry Clay? Mr. Clay.
Well. I can't tell you how delighted I am to see a friendly face in Washington. Kentuckians, special guests, I think you may know that I am a proud member of the Whig Party. But let us agree that tonight there is no Whig Party. There is no Republican Party. There is no Democratic Party. Tonight, there will only be a Kentucky Party. And if you would please permit me a personal reflection. Some of you may have heard that I have no memory of my father. My father died when I was only about 4 years old. But my mother, to keep my father's memory alive, would tell me stories about my father. How my father was a farmer, a tobacco farmer. But the stories my mother told me about my father as a Baptist preacher are the stories that have stayed with me almost all my life. Now, I'm not Baptist myself, but the stories that my mother told me about my father as a Baptist preacher, I find remarkable. Because my mother would tell me that if my father stood up in front of his congregation, and if he said something that everyone agreed with, there would be this great congregational amen. Amen. Back to my father. Amen. That's the truth. Amen. We agree. Now, I find that remarkable because the truth is, Mr. McConnell and members of Congress, I don't care these days what you say or who you say it to. You are not going to get a great congregational amen from anyone in Washington today. Amen? But ladies, I think I speak for all Kentucky gentlemen here tonight when I say that we are proud and honored to have so many intelligent, gracious, beautiful women here this evening. Thank you for that amen, sir. Thank you. We are here at the historic Willard Hotel, home of the distinguished, home of the powerful, and home of the lobbyists. Now, back in my day, with so many members of Congress who are here at the Willard, it only stands to reason that anyone who was looking to advance their cause would come here to the Willard and hang around the lobby in hope of having a conversation with a member of Congress or administration. Well, they became known, of course, as lobbyists. And I think that the lobbyists would have had more luck with me if they had, instead of hanging out in the lobby, if they had hung out at the Round Robin bar. Because of course, the Round Robin bar was where I introduced Washington to the mint julep. Now, amen. Amen. Now, there was one evening where I happened to be in the Round Robin when I met a young British captain. And he started to tell me that he thought that the mint julep could be made with brandy. I said, no, sir. A mint julep has to be made with good Kentucky bourbon. And he said, well, perhaps it could be made with some kind of rum. I said, no, sir. No, sir. A mint julep can only be made with good Kentucky bourbon. Amen. And so that young man took a drink of that mint julep made with good Kentucky bourbon, and he agreed with me. As a matter of fact, that recipe that we gave the Round Robin bar that night, that is still the recipe that is used to this day. We know that sometimes when I would bring a barrel or two of good Kentucky bourbon to Washington, that sometimes that good Kentucky bourbon would help grease the wheels of government. Amen? Amen. And so we, the Kentucky Party, are here tonight to celebrate one of our own, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Senator McConnell and I do have some things in common. We both studied law, both born in states outside of Kentucky, and both enjoy the rough and tumble world of politics. Politics. I am called a great compromiser because of the Compromise of 1820, the Compromise of 1833, the Compromise of 1850, to help prevent war between the North and the South. I know no North, no South, no East, no West. If any man wants to know the key to my heart, it is with the Union, and we must keep the Union together. Amen? Amen. Politics. 3 times I ran for president. 3 times defeated. Twice denied the nomination by my party, and both times my party won the presidency. politics. Thomas Jefferson once said that politics is such a torment that I would advise every man I love not to mix in it. Mr. McConnell, amen? Wise man, Jefferson. But I think that we all agree when we say that we are thankful that Mr. McConnell did not heed the advice of Mr. Jefferson. Amen? Amen. We're here tonight to recognize the dedication and service of our own Senator Mitch McConnell. And sir, I have arranged for a genuine Henry Clay recipe mint julep from the Round Robin Bar for you. If you would come up here and share that drink with me, sir.
The Senate is not in session.
Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will charge your glasses. Sir, we thank you for your service and we wish you success for the good of Kentucky, the United States of America, and we know that we are in good hands because you are a true statesman. Hear, hear.
Thank you, Mr. Clay.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen, sir. Three cheers for the Senate Majority Leader. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Amen.
I want to thank the Kentucky Humanities Council for Mr. Clay's appearance. You'll find this hard to believe, but he's actually an actor named George McGee, who is a drama professor and director of theater at my alma mater, Georgetown College. Thank you, Professor McGee. It's now my pleasure, and we're going to mix up the program here just a little bit, but it's my pleasure to introduce a man who is in great demand these days from Paducah to Pikeville and from Iowa to New Hampshire and on all the Sunday morning talk shows. He sprang onto the Kentucky political scene a few years ago and captured a new feeling among voters who were demanding change. The same messages he brought to the Senate race in Kentucky are resonating across the country, and we'll be all watching as he emerges during the coming year. Ladies and gentlemen, Kentucky's other senator, the Honorable Rand Paul.
Now, I was told this was a roast. Now, Senator McConnell and I are not exactly alike. Okay, he's maybe a little more Henry Clay, and sometimes I'm a little more Cassius Clay. That's the abolitionist. I got to keep pointing it out. But the thing is that while we may not be alike, I do appreciate how he is great and done great things for Kentucky. I'll never forget the first time we met. It was in a hangar in Louisville. I don't think he knew what to make of me or me of him at that point. And over time, it's been amazing. Our paths keep crossing. At least in my short time here, my path is always crossing with Senator McConnell's path. And to me, what's been amazing about it is that I came from outside of government, never involved in government, been a physician, really peripherally interested in politics, but not involved. But the more I've gotten to know Senator McConnell, the more I've known that really, truly in his heart, he wants what's best for the country and what's best for Kentucky. Doesn't mean he's always right. Doesn't mean I'm always right. But we agree on so many things and that we want to do what's best for our country and for Kentucky. The other thing that I think that's underappreciated about Senator McConnell is that his defense of the First Amendment, his defense of political speech. And for those who follow this, we always have people who are great advocates of the Second Amendment. I try to be an advocate of the Fourth Amendment. People think, oh, well, there's plenty of advocates for the First Amendment, but really there aren't plenty of advocates for the First Amendment, and hasn't always been easy. Senator McConnell's gotten a lot of flack for being the defender of political speech. But speech is speech, and speech is important. Dissent is important in a country. And for Senator McConnell's love for Kentucky, for his love of Kentucky, for his love of history, and for his defense of Congress against the presidency, no matter who the presidency is, I salute Senator McConnell. Here's to Senator McConnell.
There's a lady from the Wall Street Journal here tonight to investigate and do an article on the relationship between Senator Paul and Senator McConnell. And I said, hey, they both drink bourbon. What else is there? But glad to have her here this evening also. And now that we've had a bit of history from Henry Clay, let's move to the present. I'd like to call on our friends from KET. And I saw Shay Hopkins, the CEO of KET, and Julie Schmidt here tonight. We're going to borrow a few excerpts from their recent documentary on Senator McConnell, if you'll watch the screen right up here. Thank you.
Good evening from Washington, D.C. After a successful re-election campaign in 2014, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell returned to Washington this year with renewed optimism regarding his role as Majority Leader of the United States Senate.
Majority Leader.
Today is an important day for our country. Many senators took the oath this afternoon, 13 for the first time, and a new Republican majority accepted its new responsibility.
Other than elected officials like Senator McConnell and lifelong government bureaucrats, Capitol Hill is fueled by the energy and youthful enthusiasm of the young men and women, interns and legislative aides that work for members of Congress. As a young man, Senator McConnell had experienced a touch of Potomac fever himself when he worked as an intern for Republican Senator John Sherman Cooper and thought that one day he too might return to Washington as a United States Senator. Tonight you'll hear from McConnell and those who know him well, colleagues and associates, his wife, biographer, and even from some with whom he's tussled politically. We begin with the man himself, Mitch McConnell, a student of history inspired by Kentuckians Alvin Barkley and Henry Clay, regarded as a political wizard driven to lead and govern.
He is one of the best students of politics this country's ever had. I mean, he reads extensively about politicians. He can not just read a poll, he can write a poll. He can't just order up a commercial, he could write a commercial. He could be a consultant if he wasn't a senator. He is just very practiced at the art of politics.
The only way you govern a complex country is by consensus. Mitch McConnell could be very good at that. And then as far as Kentucky goes, I used to say about Bill Frist, our senator, when he was majority leader, that it was good for the country and it wouldn't be bad for Tennessee. And I think having Mitch McConnell as majority leader is good for the country, and it shouldn't hurt Kentucky one bit.
I believe in Mitch McConnell as a leader for this country. I worked hard for him because I think he will be the best leader in the Senate for our country. Our country was desperately searching for a different and new direction, and I just had incredible faith in my husband that he will be a good leader for our country. Mitch is a student of the Senate, and he is also a tremendous protector of the institution. And so he feels that regular order needs to be returned to the United States Senate, which is, after all, the role that the Senate embodied from the even when George Washington was president. He talked about the role of the Senate. And so right away, Mitch has already reintroduced regular order into the United States Senate so that senators can have amendments, they can vote, and then in the healthy debate that follows, we will see what the American people want.
He's a shrewd tactician,
I think that's probably the best trait, most important trait he has. A very good tactician. He thinks he's a good chess player. He thinks 4 or 5 steps ahead. I never dreamt that he would wind up being majority leader of the U.S. Senate. I don't doubt that he could, but I never dreamt that that was the way it would turn out. But he's well motivated. He's such a patriot of Kentucky and the nation. But the sacrifices that he's gone through to get here, people don't necessarily notice. But these are long hours, long days, long weeks, long years.
He's got an opportunity to make some things happen. And I hope he seizes on that opportunity. Look, he's a skilled guy, he's a smart guy. I was in law school with Mitch. I've known him for a long time. And he's got it in him to do this. And I hope he does, because we'll all be better for it.
I saw it this year on numerous occasions and didn't realize 2 years ago that this is something that would be such a focal point of national and international media. I was interviewed by the BBC, the Christian Science Monitor, Al Jazeera, a group out of Germany. I can't pronounce their name, but so many times I was interviewed because they wanted to know about Senator McConnell. And truly, I think it is something that our state, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, but because you're a Kentuckian, should be proud of, that we have the leader of the United States Senate.
Thank you, Julie and KET, for providing that for us. We appreciate it very much, and Jessica and Jacqueline and our staff to put that together. The remarks by Kentucky Senate President Robert Stivers provide a great lead-in to our first speaker. We're glad to have President Stivers himself here tonight in person. He broke away from Frankfurt. Some people would say he escaped from Frankfurt. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome the celebrity of Al Jazeera, President Robert Stivers.
Well, first of all, I never have been introduced as the celebrity of Al Jazeera. But I do have to say it is quite the privilege and honor to be here tonight to speak about Senator McConnell. I got to meet him in 1996. I really didn't know him at that time. I got a phone call. I was running for the state Senate. Most people didn't know my first name. And said, Robert, I want you to go to Moorhead. I'm having a fundraiser. And that was my opponent's home county. And so we went there that night, and not knowing anyone, I pulled in, and they had McConnell stickers on one side and my opponent's stickers on the other side of their bumpers. So it wasn't really a warm welcome. And then Senator McConnell came up. I don't know if you remember this, Senator. We walked into Denver Kinder's house. And that night, Senator McConnell was pretty blunt. He said, you know what? Saw the bumper stickers, everything out there. You need to be for me, and you need to be for him. And since then, I've watched Senator McConnell and appreciate all he's done and he's accomplished. And over the years, we've had opportunity to do a few things, and I've got to know about some of his pastimes. And one of his pastimes he has a lot of passion about is U of L football. Now, it's not to say he doesn't like UK or basketball or anything else, but he loves U of L football. And I get a call one Saturday to come up and go to the football game with him. He had an extra ticket. And I walk in, and there's the group there, and I know Senator McConnell remembers this very well. I had a blue coat on, kind of a Kentucky blue coat on. Senator looks at me and says, Robert, do you know where you are? I really didn't know what he was talking about, but then I proceeded to notice everybody was in red and black. He said, if you don't have enough money, we can take up a donation to get you some red and black clothes because you're going to a Cardinal football game. And then he proceeded to have everybody gather around me in my blue coat and everybody in red and black, and they did go cards and they took photos of me to remind me of my mistake. But then the senator went in and he watched the football game and put his headphones on, and something I hadn't seen, I don't think many people in this room had ever seen. It is that emotion and passion for the U of L football game as he would listen and something would happen and he would high five, he would fist pump and some other things, and it was like, wow, I've never seen this in Senator McConnell. But I can tell you in the position I am in, and I've watched him, I've seen how the control of that emotion, that passion has done well. He's been very disciplined in what he's done. But just because he doesn't show it, don't think he doesn't have it. Because I can tell you through many phone calls on weekends or at the office, some long bus trips and car rides together, I've seen that emotion, I've seen that passion for the issues in Kentucky. Truly I have. And with that, what has it done? It has given us, the state of Kentucky, the most powerful Republican in the United States, which also means we have the most powerful Republican in the world. So when somebody wants a comment to the president, who do they come to? Our United States Senator, Mitch McConnell. What does it mean for Kentucky? For Kentucky, you know, we've talked about Alvin Barkley and we've seen Henry Clay come back from the dead. But Senator McConnell, as I've said on many occasions, anytime that you elevate the status of a Kentuckian, you elevate the status of Kentucky. And he has elevated Kentucky's status well beyond Alvin Barkley, well beyond Henry Clay. He is not just a national figure, he is an international figure, and he has brought us into a spotlight that could not have been better portrayed by anyone other than our United States Senator. But I want to tell you what I think is really special to me about Senator McConnell. When he comes to the small town of Beattyville, Kentucky, and he's done it on several occasions, he'll be there with 150, 200 people having lunch. And before he leaves, and before anybody in that room leaves, and not in an election year, I'm just talking about a regular visit, he'll make sure he can get to the back of that room, and he can shake every hand and talk to every person in Beattyville, Lee County. When I have brought middle school students here to the Capitol to tour and see things, Senator McConnell would come out and sit on the front steps of the Capitol and speak with these young middle school students about his role and what the role of government is, his love of history, his love of policy, his love of the institution of the United States Senate. And for a lot of young politicians like me and many others, he has put his arm around them. He has guided them. He has given them a lot of his knowledge and wisdom about how to be not just a good politician, but a good policymaker. That's Senator McConnell. That's what makes him important to Kentucky. Because Senator McConnell, you know who you are. You know where you come from, and you know who you represent. And that's what I believe makes Senator McConnell special for this state. So you, Senator McConnell, I truly wish you the strength of Hercules, definitely the wisdom of Solomon, and Godspeed in your journey that you have undertaken. And I look forward to working with you many, many more years in your role as not just the leader of Kentucky, but a leader in the United States and the world. Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you, President Stivers. Regina, glad to have you here tonight. By the way, in our program tonight, there is a history of the majority leader position. And it mentioned Senator Alvin Barkley. And by the way, Sandra Wilson from Paducah. Where are you, Sandra? Sandra's out here somewhere. I asked her to do an imitation of Alvin Barkley tonight, and she declined at the last minute. Couldn't believe it. But no, seriously, it gives the history of the position, which only occurred really in like the 20s, and has led us to the point where we are tonight, and Senator McConnell taking that position. It's my honor to introduce a man that many of us have admired for years, and someone who has been a real blessing to the people of southern and eastern Kentucky. He's done amazing things for his constituents, most recently co-founding the SOAR initiative in East Kentucky with Governor Beshear, and working in a bipartisan way to dramatically expand broadband in rural areas. He's beloved in his district, usually referred to by one name, Hal. But I don't think most Kentuckians realize how influential he is here in Washington as Mr. Chairman of the powerful House Appropriations Committee. He's known as someone who can get things done both in Congress and in his district. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Dean of the Congressional Delegation of Kentucky, the honorable gentleman from Somerset, Hal Rogers.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, thank you very much for the nice introduction. I love being among Kentuckians. This is a wonderful occasion, not just the opportunity to pay tribute to Senator McConnell, but to renew the friendships and the bonds that bind our state together. You know, Kentuckians, I like to tell my friends up here that there's 4 important things about Kentucky that you should know. 1, we're in the Bible Belt. 2, but we make a little bourbon, and we grow some tobacco so you can smoke, and we raise racehorses and have a little fun at the track. So we're noted for 4 things: smoking, drinking, gambling, and religion. Speaking of the Mint Julep in the round robin, when I first came here in 1981, I came to the round robin and ordered a Maker's Mark. They said, "What?" I said, "Maker's Mark." They said, "What is that?" I said, "It's the best bourbon going. I expect you to have this the next time I come." Well, I came back 6 weeks later, ordered a Maker's Mark right there. So Clay can claim the Mint Julep, but Rogers can claim Maker's Mark. Senator McConnell and I go back into the 60s, and we've maintained a friendship and a mutual support all those years. And I've watched this man grow and mature and become quite a statesman in a relatively short span of time. I remember back during the campaign last year, we were on a bus tour through the mountains, and we got lost on the bus. So we were trying to find our way to Hazard. And I saw this cabin on the hill above us with an old man sitting on the porch rocking. We stopped the bus. I got off and I said, "Hello." He hollered back, "Hello." I said, "Can you tell me how you get to Hazard, Kentucky?" He says, "I get my son-in-law to take me." You know, you ask a silly question, you get a silly answer, I guess. But during those bus tours through the mountains, we went to mainly coal mine mouths and equipment dealers, people dealing with coal, because the war on coal has been devastating in my district. I've lost 9,000 laid-off miners just in my district. And I watched as Senator McConnell went to those coal mine mouths to talk to miners who were laid off, hard hats on, small kids at home, no job. And I watched him emphasize with those people, empathize, realizing the tremendous hurt that they were under, and genuinely wanting to help and able to help, and has adopted a campaign to help those people. And I watched with great admiration that they responded to him. We were riding to one of those mine mouths, and we were in the boonies. In fact, we couldn't go on the bus to this one particular location. You had to have a four-wheel, which we did. And on the way over there, bumping across those rocks and rills and hills, I said, Senator, was this ever your idea about how the road to majority leadership in the Senate would be? He said, no, I don't think I imagined that. But we had a great time together. Mitch has got a great sense of humor. And he's a student, of course, of politics in the nth degree. And it's been a wonderful experience and a wonderful teacher for the rest of us. As I said, we started out together in the 60s. We were in Young Republicans back when I had brown hair and he had a belt with 28 on it. And we've been in wars and semi-wars, political, all these years, but always respectful of each other. But this man has an inscrutable poker player face, chess player logic, and Texas Hold'em bravery. The Senate is a better place for him. And he will do a masterful job as a great tactician in a very difficult role, with a House that's with him, a Senate now in the majority but not 60 votes, and a president who is difficult to deal with. But this man knows how, if anybody does, to work in that kind of an atmosphere. Being majority leader in the Senate, Bill Frist, one of his predecessors, once said about the Senate, about being majority leader, he said it's a lot like being a groundskeeper at a cemetery. A lot of people under you, but nobody's listening. And you know, in today's atmosphere, in politics, it's so acrimonious and so confrontational. Somebody said the trouble with being a leader today is that you can't be sure whether those people behind you are following you or chasing you. But I think in the case of McConnell, they're following. And they see a leader who has accomplished great things, not just for the state or the country, but for his party. He's made Kentucky a two-party state. That's good for Kentucky. That was Mitch McConnell's work and continues. He, over the years, has demonstrated leadership, compassion, dedication to Kentucky and to the country and the world, as no one that I know really has. We've not always agreed on things. Most of the time we do. But he respects people having their own sense, their own judgment, their own decision-making capabilities. And that has engendered him to the other senators that he serves with. They know that Mitch McConnell knows what he's doing and doesn't necessarily slap you on the back, but he hits your conscience and your deep-seated patriotism. He will make Kentucky extremely proud. This is the longest serving, by the way, the longest serving senator in Kentucky history. More than Clay, more than Cooper, more than Morton, more than Barkley, more than anybody else. Imagine that. That in our presence is a history maker. And he's really a young guy. So he's got a lot of future ahead of him, and he's going to lead us in the right direction. We worked together in the 71 governor's race. Emberton Host, he was the finance director, and I was the overall campaign chairman, so we worked together a lot. And then, and I was impressed with him, of course, from day one. But then when he ran for judge in Jefferson County and won that election, I knew that he was destined for great things. Didn't know what, but I knew it was something great. And then in '84, when he decided to run for the U.S. Senate against a sitting incumbent, well-seated, experienced, well-liked, I thought, boy, he may have jumped off the wrong bridge here. And as he said himself, he wasn't, the only people that thought he would win was his mother and him. But he worked at it, and he went to work. And he used that incredible brain power that he has. And along came the hound dogs. And that propelled him to a great victory. And then in these elections in Kentucky, people sensing that we've got a real smart politician here, a real Kentuckian who knows what he's doing and knows what Kentucky needs. And you saw him when he was the one that put together the tobacco bailout program, which saved so much money for Kentucky tobacco farmers who were desperately in need at the time. It was McConnell that put that package together and pushed it through the Congress. And time and again, with emergencies, with floods, with all sorts of disasters that strike our state, McConnell is always there, looking out for the people of his beloved Kentucky. Now, let me say in closing, luck may have a little to do with his career. Not much, I don't believe. Jefferson said, I'm a great believer in luck. And I find the harder I work, the more I have of it. That's Senator McConnell. He's a worker day and night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year. You won't find anybody anywhere that's more focused and more dedicated and more prepared to do the hard things that Majority Leader McConnell does. He's a patriot. He's a Kentuckian through and through. He wears blue at least Kentucky basketball games. And of course, he's a great admirer of the University of Louisville. So, Senator McConnell, we're proud of you. You make us proud. You've earned a special place in the hearts of Kentuckians. You've earned a special place in the history of our state. No one can match you in history, in your length of service, and I think the quality of service. So, God bless and Godspeed.
One of the joys of my job at the Kentucky Chamber is to work with some of the most talented business leaders in our state. And before I introduce the chairman of our board of the Kentucky Chamber, I'd like to introduce the chair-elect of our board, Kevin Canifax with Fidelity Investments, runs a huge operation in northern Kentucky. Kevin, glad to have you here, and we look forward to your leadership next year. Also, before I introduce our chairman, I want to thank Jim Ford and the staff of the Kentucky Chamber that put together this event on fairly short notice. They've done a terrific job, and I enjoy working with each and every one of them. It's our special honor this year to have the president of Toyota at Georgetown as chairman of the board of the Kentucky Chamber. Will James is busy these days getting ready to produce the new Lexus in Georgetown and hiring a bunch of folks to do that. But he has given generously of his time to lead the state's business community during 2015. Let's welcome Mr. Will James, who will add his comments and then introduce our guest of honor. Will James.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a distinct honor for me and my team members at Toyota to be a part of such an historic occasion tonight here in our nation's capital. This year, alongside a very strong group of business leaders, I'm extremely proud to serve as the chairman of the board of the Kentucky Chamber, an organization that works tirelessly to represent the interests of more than 60,000 businesses across Kentucky. But tonight's not about Toyota or about the Kentucky Chamber. It's about saluting Senator Mitch McConnell. He's worked hard for Kentucky. He's helped businesses grow and prosper across our state. And because of his work, he's risen to the ranks in Washington to the position he now holds as Majority Leader of the United States Senate. Now, our three previous speakers, four if you count Henry Clay, have offered their tributes and their honors to Senator McConnell, and there's really not much more that I can say and add to those fine comments. I just want to say that the Kentucky Chamber felt that this historic accomplishment and its significance to the state of Kentucky should not go by without taking a moment to pause and celebrate its significance. Now, as I introduce Senator McConnell to make a few comments tonight, I want to offer two things. One, our sincere congratulations, because this truly is a major accomplishment for Kentucky. And secondly, our profound best wishes. Our Commonwealth and the nation face huge challenges and fantastic opportunities. For the sake of Kentuckians and all Americans as well, we wish you great success as Majority Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, the Majority Leader of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, as you can imagine, I kind of hated for this to stop. Goodness. Thank you so much to all the speakers, Rand and Hal and Robert. Will, thank you for the introduction. Dave, thanks for the recognition. After listening to all these speeches, I feel a little bit like Elizabeth Taylor's sixth husband. I know what's expected of me, I just don't know how to make it interesting. You know, on a night like this, you think back over the years, and the first thing that comes to mind is extraordinary gratitude for the people of Kentucky who've stuck with me long enough to give me a chance, hopefully, to make a difference. I always think there are two kinds of people in politics, those that want to make a point and those that want to make a difference. And making a point from time to time is something everybody does in political life. But at the end, it's important to remember that what it's all about is really trying to make a difference. And if you think back over the broad sweep of American history, I just finished reading a fascinating book about, lots been written about Washington, of course, but this was about the period in Washington's life between the end of the war and the Constitution. It was a 4-year period from 1783 to 1787. It was pretty clear that the Articles of Confederation were a total failure. And if we were going to benefit from independence, we had to have a government that worked. And Washington, more than anyone else, not only won the war, but had the stature to hold together the Constitution, the Constitutional Convention, and come up with a government that worked, which was an incredible series of compromises. Legend has it that at one point during the discussion, Washington was asked, what do you think the Senate's going to be like? He said, I think it's going to be like the saucer under the teacup. The tea is going to slosh out of the cup down to the saucer and cool off. What did he mean? Well, he meant the Senate was going to be a place where things were thought over. They decided the House was going to be popularly elected with only 2-year terms. And the assumption was that it would be a place of great passion and quick reaction. And if the founders looked down today and watched C-SPAN 1, they'd see, as our congressional members here tonight would confirm, the House is a place of great passion and quick reaction. Now, the reason Washington thought the Senate was going to be the place where things got cooled off was because of 6-year terms, and because until 1914, many of you already know, senators were not popularly elected. They were chosen by the state legislatures. So the thought was that they were somewhat removed from the hurly-burly of politics, and they would think things over. If that were not enough, over the course of our history, the Senate developed into the only institution in the world, legislative institution in the world, where a simple majority is not enough. 51 is a majority, but to do most things in the Senate, you have to have 60. Thus, a majority is not enough to do things one party only most of the time, unless your party has a really large majority, which our friends on the other side have enjoyed on a number of occasions. They had huge majorities during the New Deal, huge majorities during the Great Society, and huge majority in the first 2 years of Barack Obama. But most of the time, if you're a football fan, the game is played between the 45-yard lines. Either my side is up a little bit or their side is up a little bit, and the message from the voters is, okay, we didn't give either one of you the opportunity to do everything you wanted to do, and so if you're going to do anything, you need to figure out how to compromise. Now, we had a chance to hear from Henry Clay tonight, and he was, of course, as we all know, known as the great compromiser. And the Constitution itself was a series of incredible compromises. Some of the people associated with the Constitution, including James Madison, who had more to do with it than anything else, didn't support every aspect of it, but they knew they had to produce something new, or the fruits of the American independence would have been lost. So the Senate's been the indispensable player over the 200-year history of our country in cooling things off and trying to figure out how to bring things together, which leads me to the role that brought you here tonight. As has been stated, I'm something of a football fan in our basketball crazy state. For those of you who do enjoy football, you know there's the defensive coordinator and there's the offensive coordinator. For the last 8 years, I've been the defensive coordinator, and you know you can score occasionally on defense, but it's hard. On offense, as the offensive coordinator, you get to call the plays. In my new role, I call the plays. Now, that doesn't solve every problem because the outcome is going to be determined not just by Republicans only, but by a reasonable number of Democrats as well. So the new challenge which brought you all here tonight to join me in celebrating only gives me the opportunity, in consultation with my colleagues, to set the agenda, to try to move the country in a different direction, and to try to do that in dealing with a president of the opposite party who may have a different point of view about the direction we ought to take, which leads me back to Henry Clay and the importance of compromise. Nobody in this big country of 330 million people with different points of view, different geographic locations, is ever going to get everything they want. And so the new challenge I have is to try to make a difference, for the country, and to look for areas of agreement. And this is a period of divided government. Americans like divided government. We've had it a lot since World War II. When Americans elect divided government, they're not saying, we don't want you to do anything. They're saying we want you to look for areas of agreement because we've made a conscious decision not to give either side all the power. So I know your first reaction to divided government probably is nothing's going to happen. I know it's counterintuitive, but actually some of the best government we've had in the last 70 years have been during divided government. Think Ronald Reagan and a Democratic House of Representatives for his whole 8-year period, saving Social Security for a generation, doing the last comprehensive tax reform. Think of Bill Clinton, who didn't have the House or the Senate for 6 of his 8 years, did welfare reform, and actually balanced the budget for 3 years in a row. Those were certainly the good old days, brought to you by divided government. So the challenge that I've been given by my colleagues, and I'm honored to have had their support now 5 times without opposition, and the last time to lead the majority, is to try to pull these disparate pieces together and try to move this great nation in the right direction. And I couldn't be more honored to not just be the majority leader, but to be the majority leader from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, the greatest state in the nation by far. So tonight is really not about the past, and I appreciate your honoring me for where I am today, but it's about the future. And we've got an obligation to leave behind for the next generation a better America than our parents left behind for us. That's been the promise of every generation going back to the founding fathers, and every single generation has kept the commitment. And we've had really big challenges: Civil War, Depression, you name it, big challenges. But every single generation of Americans has gone to their grave confidently saying, I did indeed leave behind a better America than my parents left behind for me. That is my challenge, it is our challenge, and we will succeed. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight.
McConnell, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for your leadership. And as a small token of our appreciation.
Now, you think Henry Clay would have drunk bourbon out of this?
I think so. Thank you.
Senator McConnell, thank you for sharing this evening with your friends from Kentucky. I think most of everyone in this room realizes that everybody in Washington would love to have dinner with Senator McConnell. We're privileged to do that tonight. Thank you for the speakers who were here, and thank you for all who participated. Some of you have planes to catch tonight, some tomorrow morning. Travel safely. We'll see you back in Kentucky. Thank you.